Welcome to Lead Live, reminding you of your personal genius and how you think in order to actualize what you desire.
It's an honor to see you all, to feel you all. Welcome to Lead Live. LEAD stands for Leadership Excellence and Achievement on Demand. And we firmly believe that you are leading, even if you're not conscious of your leadership. Your decisions all day long is a reflection of your leadership. And the degree to which you're clear about where you want to go, you've set up a plan to get there, you're taking strategic action to get there, leveraging individuals, experiences that are tried, true, very effective. You're likely to get there. Action leads to results. The right mindset, the right connection with the heart facilitates the right actions that leads to the right results. We always talk about that. What is our topic today? It's one that's very personal. And I want to thank Jet, who's behind the scenes and is so helpful with Lead Live. When I asked him, should we entitle today Love or Unconditional Love? And just out the gate, he said, Unconditional Love. And that's powerful. And I didn't ask him exactly why. He may share it in the comment section here for those who are checking the comments later. But let me tell you something, the profound influence of unconditional love. And then the subtitle, it's very important to the nature of Lead Live, leading a financial, leading and leaving a financial legacy. There's a visual I want to put up. And when I thought about love and unconditional love, so many people came to mind who are among my nieces, nephews, godchildren, other loved ones. The first one that came to mind, just because of so many different memories, statements she's made to me over the years. And I don't think she even had a clue the level of impact she had on my understanding that I'm living my life not just for me. I'm living my life for everyone who's observing my behavior I may never meet. And yet they're taking their inspiration or they're taking their understandings or they're literally following my lead because, and they get to fill in the blank. I don't even know why. I didn't know why she was thinking about following my lead until she told me so. And it humbled me in a way that caused me to course correct. That I wasn't just living my life for myself, which I already knew, but I didn't know the power of being influential and impactful. So I called her. I spoke with her this morning and I asked her, what does leaving a legacy, a financial legacy mean? And to her credit, she said very easily, with little thought, it just fell out of her, off her tongue. She says, it's literally where your kids and your grandkids don't have to worry about their needs and can pursue their heart's desires. When she said what she said, I was like, oh my God, that's the essence of what we've been talking about here for months. This is the seventieth episode, and it's always been about that heart-mind connection. It's all about freeing one in a way that leads to real wealth, real wealth. I want us to stay here for a moment. That's Tom Maki, and that's Sam. They have a loving relationship, and they chose to join. They chose to come together, and they chose to build a family. 5 kids later, these individuals are remarkable, and I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of every one of my nieces, my nephews, my godchildren, my great nieces, great nephews, great godchild. I'm proud of all of them for choosing to be and to be with integrity, to choosing to be and function with a sense of responsibility, not just for getting a job, but really for being their best selves. What does that mean? That's much more than just getting by. It's actually planning to be whatever one wants to be. It's having the freedom to do, as Tom Maki indicated, pursue your heart's desire. Wow. Leaving a financial legacy so that all of our children can pursue their heart's desire. Can you imagine that? Where the emotional distress, the struggle is lifted because there's no more concerned about the basics of housing, of food, of clothing. There's the opportunity to just challenge oneself, to be much more profoundly healthy physically, emotionally, spiritually, to create in order to transform conditions for even more, enabling them to experience the legacy that those children were able to experience. What if we just paid that forward so that all young people, and thus over time, all adults are free to pursue their heart's desire? Wow. I call that as a pathway to wealth. And how do we define wealth? I am part of a massive team across this country, and actually beyond the country as well, that believe wealth is best defined as faith, family, fitness, fun, finance. And finance is a precondition to ensuring you don't have the stressors that affect health in an adverse way, that you have the capacity to pursue building your family in a way that the family has its basic needs taken care of. And you're able to just experience fun. And fun doesn't have to necessarily have a cost associated. When those other basic needs are not addressed, it's hard to have fun. And yet, some people make it. And they make it, they make fun, they make enjoyment, they make joy, they make happiness in order to facilitate getting to the place where they have the financial resources to be sufficiently free. I want to show this picture again because whether it is the Gal family or whether it is any other family across the planet, within the United States, in any other country across the planet, in a village, in a town, in a city, in an urban setting, a suburban setting, in a rural setting, wherever, on a farm, their families, just like my family members, who desire to be able to build a legacy. And that legacy is not just in the household, but it has to be experienced in the household so that as we leave our households, we can magnify it in our particular neighborhoods, in our villages, in our towns, in our cities, in our countries, in our regions of the world, in our businesses. I know that for a lot of businesses, to even mention the word love, it's like, that's not professional. You need to go, you need to right size, focus on the work. Well, when you're engaged in unconditional love, you literally are opening up possibilities for everyone with whom you work, whether you're supervising them, whether you're working on a project together, whether you're working another cubicle or you're working across the planet in another zone, time zone. When there's this energetic force that says, I care and it's unconditional, my wiring is to be a complement, to be of support, to add value. My wiring is to pay whatever I've experienced that's additive forward to the next person. That's what I'm talking about in terms of unconditional love. And you manifest it any way you want to. I'm not a kind of kumbaya kind of person, although I love hugging. And unfortunately, because of the conditions right now, I guard against that for the most part. Yet Unconditional love, and I want to go there for a moment. I just wrote down some notes so I could stay on focus. Many, many more notes than I'm going to share today. So over time, I may share them. What is unconditional love? I want you to be thinking about a kind of pure care, consideration that has no attachments. So one must not do anything in order to earn it. One's very existence is worthy of love. You don't have to do anything or sustain or do something tomorrow. It's not based upon behavior, it's just based upon them actually being part of life. It's offered freely. It's based on one's own predisposition to value the other. It's not artificial, it's heartfelt. It is deeply embedded in the DNA, I think, of us as a species. And yet, I know there's scientific reports of some people not having the capacity for love. I don't know if that's true. I like to believe it's not. But whether it is true or not, I think the vast majority of us know what love is and know what unconditional love is when we experience it. And it doesn't, again, have to be up close. We can be across the planet and experience a jolt like, what was that? I don't know what it was, but it felt great. Uh, and having the vista open. Someone say, I care. You're worthy of my attention. You're worthy of my investment. And here you go. Information you need, access you need, resource you need. You don't have to do anything for it. You're just worthy because you are. Can you imagine every child experiencing that? I was talking with several young people last night, and I was fortunate to be able to do so. And I hope to do so on a quarterly basis. There's a course that's specifically for young people who are aging out of foster care. And so these young men, I asked them a question, which I'll mention later, and they gave me varying responses. Actually, I asked them a number of questions, and they were very kind, and they answered all of them in their very convivial way, and their fun way, their joking way. They were just absolutely transparent with me. I am so honored by each one of them. And and yet one talked about being reared in an environment. He's a white kid. He identifies as white. He looks like a classic white kid, beautiful young man who's getting ready to complete high school, going to college, was reared in an environment was basically Black and Latinos, and felt like he was an outsider because he was treated like an outsider because he was white in a Black and brown environment. And but no one knew that he has family members who are Black, and so he actually is Black, but he looks, for all basic purposes, white. And he felt a sense of loss of not having what he could have had, even though he didn't belong to anyone. He belonged in whatever foster home he was put in. Another young man said in response to that story, he says, I don't even know who my parents are. I have no clue. I have no idea. And it was interesting just to listen and have him share that. And it was just matter of fact. He wasn't emotional on the surface, might have been deeply underneath the surface. It was just a matter of fact. Another student indicated nothing, just simply just listen, honored, and yet could feel it was palpable the level of understanding about love, unconditional love, even though there was no specific question about love in these individuals. And I'm going to come back to them in a second for particular reasons. But I wanted to foreshadow these brilliant young men, each one of them, different ethnicities, different lived experiences, a lot in common. And at the core, each one of them do unconditional love. What's the power of unconditional love? I think I've suggested, at least, eliminates insurmountable obstacles to progress. People feel like they're valued, they're respected, they're given due consideration, and there's a sense of equal treatment, independent, or because they're people, because they're sentient being. There's a predisposition to value. All of a sudden, whatever challenges people might want to bring to the party, it's neutralized when they experience it. And you're like, well, that person always is the detractor. That person always is disruptive. And sometimes disruptive people are invaluable to a process to get it out of the status quo. And yet some people are disruptive because they're hurting. When that unconditional love is shared in that workplace, in that classroom, in that household, in the neighborhood, all of a sudden in that community center, in that synagogue, in that church, in that space, a place of worship, all of a sudden a level of peace and resolution enters the spirit of that one without that being necessarily the intent. It's powerful. What's another thing? It neutralizes constraints. Someone, I just don't like you because you just fill in the blank. Your height, your size, your hair, your color, the way you talk, the way you enunciate, where you're from, or just, I don't know you. All of a sudden, you are transmitting that. It may create some anger initially when you're literally functioning from a space of unconditional love. I've been there. And people have a right to be angry. They actually have a right to be wrong too. They don't have a right to harm you. And people are wrong sometimes because they interpret that unconditional love not only as weakness, they interpret it as, you're trying to game me. What do you want? You're up to something. And when you function that way, independent of people's interpretation of your behavior, and it's just who you are, oh, wow, the power. Even if people don't believe you, it's not about their belief. It's about your well-being and inspiring the well-being, encouraging the well-being, and facilitating and supporting the well-being of others. So the key thing is to remember, unconditional love is powerful beyond imagination. It humanizes conditions. It fosters well-being. It incentivizes growth and success. It enables collaborations and partnerships. It optimizes transformation. And something I read is that the ability to transform an ordinary moment into something magical. Can you imagine that? I can. Not only can I imagine it, I've witnessed it. I, like a lot of folks, have had challenges throughout my life. I think that's part of life itself. When things are going very smoothly, consistently, maybe it's because you're not growing. When you really want to grow and stretch and move to a different level and actualize something, you're going to experience challenges. And the more successful you want to be in whatever way, as a wife, as a husband, as a parent, as a community leader, as a business leader, as a elected official, maybe you'll experience even more challenges because you got a big goal and you've got to build up to that, where you not only have the resiliency, yet you are investing in the learning to get to that place where you're powerful. And when you spread that unconditional love, it really doesn't matter. People try to attack you or undermine you. They don't even know, some of them, that they're instruments of the universe trying to figure out if you really want that goal. They just think it's because of the way you look or the way you act or what they fear about you. When in fact, it may just be universe leveraging that person who lives out of fear to attack you. You continue with that unconditional love. You marshal through it, even though it's challenging, even though it's difficult. And before you know it, voila, you've achieved that magical, big vision, goal, operationalize that plan to get to the results that you are seeking to get to. Conditional love is a trip. It transmutes something basic to something extraordinary. You should remember that. So, what is leaving a financial legacy? Well, Tom Maki made it very transparent in terms of family. You can just take that and change it slightly and say businesses. Leaving a legacy in terms of your small, your large, your exceptionally influential business, where it can be sustained. I remember studying in the School of Business at UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley, in the United States in California, for those of you who are listening from across the planet. And I remember studying organizational demography, really the life transition and the, you could say, death of an organization. And just there's a basic cycle. And studying hundreds, thousands of organization researchers across the planet, especially in research institutions, have learned basically the same thing is tried and true without going through all that kind of history, which is rich with and replete with very good, insightful information. The bottom line is an organization can thrive, can outlast what is predicted if it has at its core some fundamental values that you can translate into unconditional love. It's amazing. And with some basic principles, understanding how to build, leverage, and protect, leave a legacy in terms of financial assets. When you have those two combinations, oh my God. And just because an organization is growing, it's doing well, etc., and it's around for 15, 20 years, does not mean it's going to last. There's always innovation, there's always new developments. The only way that organization lasts is if the individuals who make up that organization are sufficiently inspired to think creatively, to be engaged in innovation, to learn, to use that organizational learning, that collective learning for the benefit of that organization. And why would they want to do it if the organization doesn't value them, doesn't respect them? Yeah, they may need a job temporarily until they can get something where they can feel more valued. So, unconditional love at its core is powerful, whether it's for a business, and that business could be nonprofit organization, could be a profit-oriented organization. The nature of the essence of the business is less important in terms of its mission than it is in terms of its overarching vision. We'll come back to that another time, because the vision is the big piece. And when you have the right vision, the right set of values, oh my God, an organization can take off. And if you take the time to reflect on organizations that you may know that are local to your town, to your village, to your farm, to your city, your rural, wherever you're at, you will be able to pinpoint those that are doing exceptionally well because of the way they engage their fill in the blank, their colleagues, the way they even reflect on the folks who are part of that organization. I'm thinking about, I wish I could think of his name, a young man. He's not 50 yet. He may be in his early 40s, multimillionaire. Found out that many of his employees were doing what? They were working multiple jobs. He's thinking they're happy because we've got this great product and it is just doing well. Okay? And found out someone who he values was going to lunch, was leaving work and going to another job, but didn't tell him, neither did other employees. And when he found out, he asked, why are you doing that? Because I don't make enough here. And it shocked him. He thinks he's paying everybody sufficiently. It never occurred to him the cost of living in the area. Then he had another person who worked at his business who he considered to be a personal friend, another guy. And he asked him some questions only to find out that that guy too was not making enough to make ends meet. It humbled him. But he could have just left it at that and said, well, you got to work two jobs. You got to work two jobs. Go do your thing. He literally, because he cared, it was unconditional love. It is. He decided to really look at the finances of the organization, look at his own income, and he switched things up and required that his organization provide a minimum salary that shook up the industry. And yes, it was written about in different articles without speaking about the particular company at this time, because I want to remember the owner and I can't remember him, so I'm not going to talk about the company. The point is that if he didn't care, have an unconditional level of care, now he's still making quite a bit of money. And arguably, the company is doing even better. Not arguably, it is, because he chose to focus on the core values that he himself lived. So leaving a financial legacy means enabling, it means supporting, it means ensuring, it means magnifying. And why is financial legacy important? Well, first of all, what is money is just a means of exchange. In and of itself, it's just paper. It's just coins. It used to have some inherent value, but depending upon where you're on the planet, it has less value or it has greater value. But it really is a means of exchange to get to where you really want to go. So I've asked people, what do if you were nearly 100 now, what would you aspire to? One person recently, 2 days ago, said to me, I just want to be leading in HR. I said, HR, really? So you're 80 years old, you're 90 years old, now you're 100, and you want to be able to look at your life and say you led in HR? I said, I think that's awesome. Why? Just because I want to see, I want to be responsible. I want to know that I aided individuals becoming CEOs of their own businesses. I was like, oh my God, that's off the chart. I asked another friend, a college buddy, who's a medical doctor, retiring in a few years. I said, so what are you going to do when you retire? What do you want to do? What do you aspire to do? Most people say travel, spend more time with family. She's got a lovely family and she spends a lot of time with them, even given her crazy hours. She says, I want to build a home for those who are physically disabled. And so and mentally disabled. I want them to have a beautiful space to live and to thrive. I'm like, wow. And it's just incredible. Two different ages, one's 60, one's in the 40s. And I've asked people who are in their 20s and of course, teenagers. And it's amazing the level of embedded altruism. And no one's used the word altruism. No one said, I'm my brother or my sister's keeper. But everyone's talking about their capacity to give. And no one's asked them to do this. They just want to. Can you imagine a world where we're building, we're honoring, we're helping people heal, we're transforming, we're thriving, we're enabling people to create, to innovate? Wow, can you imagine that? Elevating the nature of humanity itself? Hmm. When we think about money, we think about what? When we think about preparing to leave a legacy, we think about what? I'm going to tell you what I thought about. I think about dreaming. I think about imagining. I think about going to the end that I want to achieve and working back and creating a plan. I think about leveraging expertise, mentors, coaches, folks who have done what I want to do, who are highly successful. They've been there, done that, and they're about the business of training others so that others can also be successful. I want you to remember that. You don't have to go through all of the challenges on your own. I think about taking action. I think about remaining steadfast. I think about experiencing the challenges and witnessing the growth, the growth, the growth. And here's the powerful thing with growth. I want to get to XN. I don't know what the Great Spirit has in store for me. Some people may call it God. Some people might call it Tao. Some people may call it Jehovah. I don't know what life itself has in store for me. What I do know is I have a vision and it's clear. I have a mission that is aligned with that vision, that operationalizes. I have particular goals. Then I have my core values that I allow nothing to undermine those values, that allows me to stay focused. And all of a sudden, when I experience my levels of successes over the years, I've had to move the finish line. And I did again in the last 3 years, just move the finish line. And I expect when I achieve the next massive goal, I'll move that finish line again. Life itself has in store much more for us. We allow ourselves to be open and start with that unconditional love for self, first and foremost. So, how to build a legacy. So, I already said start with the end in mind. What is it that you want to achieve? Please do not concern yourself with the how. Because when we concern ourselves with the how, what happens? I don't know how to do it. Oh, I'm not worthy of it. You always want a goal that you don't know how to achieve, because that goal is going to be worthy of you. Listen to that. You want a goal that's worthy of you. I want you to remember that. And then, of course, create a plan and all that that means to build your financial assets, to protect your family's assets, to leave a legacy. You want to build a plan that allows you to build not only get to financial freedom, but to actually ensure intergenerational wealth. We're going to come back to that. What do you need to be successful? I've already said some of the fundamentals: information, the right information, the information. A trusted coach, mentor, advisor, guide who's already been there, done that, who's open to sharing with you. Be coachable and accountable. You can see I have a lot of books that I read. I love reading books, and I've learned a lot. But I've also been validated in books. Not that I need to be, because I'm a little bit unique, and I think each one of us is quite unique. And we're not going to find ourselves in books, but we will find echoes, reminders of some of our predispositions, experiences, etc. And so there's power in reading. And so I'm thinking about Robert Kiyosaki's Increase Your Financial IQ when it comes to preparing for financial success and leaving a financial legacy. I'm thinking about James Allen as A Man Thinketh, basically reminding us what? The same thing that Earl Nightingale said in The Stranger's Secret, and that is we are what we think about all day long. We are what we think about. Our mindset predisposes us to whatever wealth we choose. We're choosing based upon our mindset. And the degree to which we're clear about our mindset, and if it's aligned with what we want to experience, voila, we're going to experience it. No joke, it's true. If we have a mindset that's not something that we've chosen, we've just adopted it because we were reared in an environment where that was the mindset. Money doesn't grow on trees. Who do you think you are? You're not worthy. And you adopt that, even though you want something else. What you've adopted, what you feel, what you have embraced value wise is where you're going to stay. And if it works for you, stay there. If it doesn't, transform it. The magic of believing. I can't emphasize enough. Most folks don't know. I don't care if you read Think and Grow Rich or any other seminal book. They're all talking about belief systems. They're all talking about the power of your mind. And your mind is not just in your brain. It's in your heart. It's in your gut. It's throughout our body. It literally, the scientists don't know where the mind rests. Arguably, it's in some, consciousness that's far beyond what we currently, most of us, can conceive. Belief is critical. The matrix of co-creation. A dear friend sent this to me. And whether it's this book or another book on co-creation, including one that a dear friend and I are writing, you want to understand the power of leveraging another with a similar mindset, certainly complementary values, and U Square, by this wonderful psychologist, Price Pritchard, reminds us that the power of leveraging mastermind groups, others, allows us to catapult our ideas and into really manifesting something much more efficiently, much more remarkably, and actually in ways that we can't even imagine if we try to do it alone. Persistence. Napoleon Hills reminds us, doesn't really matter what it is we want to do, we've got to persist. And the Acres of Diamond, you know what it does? It reminds us that oftentimes we start something and we're just literally an acre, or we're just feet away from our gold, from our diamonds, from our rewards. It's like someone going and playing the slot machine. They play it for 6 hours, like, oh God, I've given away all my money. I just have a quarter left, but it's not even worth it. They walk away, someone else sits down, and voila. I'm not suggesting gamble your money. Quite the contrary. I'm saying be strategic. When you invest, go for the long haul. So if you are going to do something like play the stock market, first of all, be wise. Be wise. Leverage the experts. Don't go it alone without having the right information. If you're going to invest in real estate, be wise. Same thing. You're going to invest in a business, an existing business, or create your own. Be wise. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Or if you're going to build a business to pass on, be wise. Leverage. If you're going to leverage different kinds of products like life insurance, my team and I, we ensure that people understand that life insurance, not the old, the new, is a powerful instrument towards wealth creation and sustaining, as well as leaving a legacy. But there's much more options that we have accessible to you. And then we talk about creating multiple streams of income. That's a whole nother conversation. And we're going to have that with a number of individuals who've done it and done it extremely well in one industry. And you could do it in multiple different industries. We're going to talk about how we've done it in the financial services industry. And wow is an understatement. And doing it in such a way where the children, the grandchildren, anyone else we want literally reaps the benefits of the legacy that we're building. Foremost, I have to encourage you to do something. It's embedded throughout this conversation. And that is to invest in your education. You have a team of people with whom you work, invest in their education. You have a family, partner, loved ones, children, nieces, nephews, siblings, invest in their education. Make certain that at the core of that education is financial education. There are so many books out there. There's so many articles. There's so many YouTube videos. Not everything is equal and not everything is accurate. So discernment is so critical, and leveraging experts who've been there, done that, and know what tools are best is critical. Yet what you do in your life, in your place of business, in your within your family sector makes a powerful difference in terms of the outcome. You want to grow your money, you want to protect your money, and you want to leave a legacy. And you don't have legacy does not mean you have to die. Let's be very clear. You may be fortunate like a number of folks, and there's a community member, her mother's mom just turned 100. That woman looks like she's younger than I. She's beautiful. I don't know how she did it. I can assume that a little bit genetic. A lot of it's probably her consciousness. The family around her, that level of unconditional love, it's palpable. I experience it. It's amazing. Can you imagine the level of well being when unconditional love is ubiquitous? We're all experiencing it. Yeah, some of us, like me, would be giggly. And some people would say, oh, she's a little bit, over the top right now. Why not? Why not be so transparent and over the top more frequently, as opposed to stoic and um, so deferential that no one even knows that we exist? We're here for a reason, folks. We need each other. We're inherently social beings. And I believe, quite frankly, we all come from the same source. We go back to the same source. We're part of the same source. We're one. And the degree to which you're healthy, you're able to live your faith in the way that you want to, build, grow, honor, support, solidify your family, experience physical well being, you're just happy. You're experiencing joy. You're having fun. The degree to which you're able to do those things because of your financial freedom, however you've created it, legally, with the support of growing numbers of us, you're affecting my life. You're ensuring my life is healthier, even if I never get to meet you. You can call it vicarious experiences. I firmly believe the power of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, in other words, our actions, all translate into energy. And that energy is either additive or it's negating. And the degree to which we make it additive, oh my goodness, there is no limitation. One of the young men asked me last night, brilliant guy, brilliant. I didn't ask him his age. I think he's 18, could be 17. And he says, do you think there's a universe outside this universe? And we had a remarkable conversation. He already had an answer. He wanted to hear my answer. We talked about the notion of multiple universes coexisting, and that the more we imagine, the more we're creating, and that we're active creators. And we see it in business, we see it in creation of families, we see it, and yet we forget that we're creators. No, we're not the Great Spirit, we're not God. No, we are a reflection of that. And we have the capacity. And people use these seminal masters and they say, well, Jesus said this, and the Buddha says this, and yet we don't live it. What's attributed to Jesus? He says, these things I've done, you can do and more. Well, why aren't we doing that? I remember asking a Catholic priest who was retired, remarkable man, will go unnamed, known across the United States. I said, so if that's true, and that, why aren't we just doing that? And the reaction was dismissive. Oh, that's just a metaphor. Da, 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 da. And I thought, all righty. And yet, so we share metaphors, and then we tell people this is factually correct. I'll leave it to you, because many of you may agree with that. I firmly believe we have capacity that exceeds what we can imagine unless we do imagine. So I have this ultimate question that I ask. Is there enough? Some of you may be saying enough of what? Enough. Enough money for everyone to be financially free, for everyone to build intergenerational wealth. If you take what I just shared, that the young man I talked about last night with others, about the notion of our ability to create and to leverage our imagination to create even more, is enough. And the power is in us choosing what we want and deciding what works for us. And if we function from the standpoint of there's enough, all of a sudden we're not fearful that someone has what I need. If there's enough for everybody. And it's independent of our station in life, where we live, how we came to be, what our cultural backgrounds are. We're one species, we're the human race. We can be fully equipped. I want to back up and share something. I meant to read it earlier. And it was earlier on. And it's in What Would the Rockefeller's Do? And it reads, protection leads to production. We're talking about financial assets. Protecting your funds, your resources, your assets. It leads to production in the right instruments. It can have, in other words, your money can work for you. It can produce more money. Not just in terms of earning money, but in terms of the quality of your life. Think about that. That peace of mind will translate into your life, into clarity, joy, and the mental space and creativity that allows you to create and produce more of that. Clarity, joy, and the mental space and creativity that allows you to create more of the clarity, of the joy, in addition to the financial resources. That's what I'm talking about, folks. It's getting to a place where we are so wired to just give unconditionally. And that doesn't mean giving away all your stuff. And let me tell you, I've been there. I know what it means. Someone needs something, just go and get it. It's just my wiring. I know it. And not everybody's like that. Some people have been with me and said, "What are you doing? Use that money elsewhere. That's your money, or that's whatever." And all I could think of, well, I don't need it that bad. I have more than I need. I am wealthy by all measures, in comparison, or just not even in comparison. So why not share? When we get to the place where we're just wired, oh my God, the enormous internal benefits. When you're in the shower and you're cleaning and you got your eyes closed and you're just like, oh my God, that cool air feels good, or that hot water, that whatever, the suds just feels so milky and soft, whatever. Or you're in front of the mirror and you're washing your face and you're feeling, oh, I'm clean. I'm not only clean here, but I feel so good inside. Or you're walking with your dog, as I walk with my dog, and I'm so happy. He's jumping up and down. And inside, although I may not be outside, I may look too proper, but I am literally elevated because I get to do what I love, which is be loving to myself in an unconditional way. No, I don't like everything about myself. Yes, I have weaknesses. I definitely have strengths. I hone in on my strengths. I work on the weaknesses that matter, and the ones that don't matter, so what? I keep moving. Anything that affects my ability to achieve what I want to achieve, I work on it. If it doesn't, it's no big deal. Keep moving. The power, though, is when you're functioning with unconditional love for the self. It's easier to do it for others. And the power is when you do it for yourself, it's easier for you not to harm yourself when you do it for others. Because I know what that looks like. And for years, that's what I did. I thought I was just being a good person. I didn't realize I didn't value myself enough to do the good work for myself first. But when you do, oh my God, it's powerful. Can you imagine you were built to be remarkable? Can you imagine you were literally created from absolute, pure, unconditional love? Can you imagine that your life is about receiving? Can you imagine that you were born to be wealthy, to have the faith, to be able to exercise it, have the family? Maybe you create your family, like a number of us have done, or you have the financial assets, where you have your fit, where you can experience fun. Can you imagine being created to be wealthy in that regards? Well, that's what we want you to do. We want you not only to imagine, we want you to imagine big. And any information you need that's beyond this general statements that you hear here today, or any day previously or subsequently, feel free to contact us here at Lead Live. We expect you to exceed even your high expectation when you choose such. We know that each one of us has tremendous capacity, tremendous. And we know that each one of us, I firmly believe, come from unconditional love. Even if the parents from whom we come didn't know how to love, didn't even love themselves, and even harm some of us. Even if that was the case, the essence of who each person is, I firmly believe, comes from unconditional love. And just think, with your remarkable mental tools, that includes foremost imagining, includes intuition, includes will, perception, memory. I'm leaving one out purposely. I'm going to talk about next week. And I want you to think about your capacity to exceed your own high expectations. Wow, what would that business look like? As you're working with teams of individuals in a way that honors everyone, you're leading by example. You're leveraging those who do it because that's who they are. You're honoring them. You're magnifying the potential of everyone. Oh my God. Think about what that household would look like, the peace, the reconciliation that's necessary. Oh, wow. Wow. Feel the benefit, the enormous benefit when you're out kayaking, when you're snorkeling, when you're out there with the cows, the cattle, playing with the ducks, when you just can't stop feeding the birds. I want you to think about the power of you when you take your stroll because you need a break from it all. I want you to think about the capacity of you magnified. That's what unconditional love does. And when you invest the time to learn about finances, when you're financially educated, wow, get out the way. What separates those who are just getting by and surviving and those who are financially free, it's really information. Let's be clear. Yeah, you could say, oh, they were born into it. Okay, some were. And even some who were, they lost all of it because they weren't educated financially. The family didn't talk about it. You can build the family that you want. And I'm reminded by my mentor, one of my remarkable mentors, Eric Olson, and his remarkable, brilliant wife, Sandra Olson, that you don't have to come from wealth. They grew up in East San Jose, California, was told that they probably wouldn't amount to too much. One, a good old white boy who just was from a family that was just making it, and one from Mexican family from Mexico, and all the stereotypical negative stuff around that. And yet those two didn't buy it, just like so many of us, and hopefully everyone who's watching this. Your circumstances don't determine your destiny. You do. You choose. So I think about what they've created. I won't talk about all the wealth they have, which is quite remarkable and startling. And neither one is even 40 years old. I will talk about the legacy that they have built and they continue to build, not just for their four children, beautiful, remarkable, brilliant children, for so many others, thousands of others, no exaggeration. Can you imagine you? You probably already have imagined you affecting the lives of countless people just because you can. In a way where you're paying forward the gift of unconditional love that you possess for yourself. Oh my God. Can you imagine the world being that? I can, and I do. And that gets me up in the morning. That keeps me focused. What is your unconditional love legacy? What is yours? Directly and vicariously, what are your loved ones experiencing that reflects you, your wealth? Why don't?